Good evening, everyone. So, Virgo, let's talk about what's actually happening versus what fear-based urgency wants you to believe. Mm, Tomorrow's just another day. It's not cosmically significant. It doesn't hold special power. It's not the deadline for some universal decision about your fate. It's just the next rotation of the planet, the next 2 4 hour cycle in endless series of them. Nothing more, nothing less. So when content screams that something critical will happen tomorrow, when it insists you need to hear this message before tomorrow arrives, when it creates panic around specific timing, that's manufactured crisis. That's artificial urgency designed to make you consume content now, share it now, engage with it now, before you have time to think critically about whether the claim makes any sense. And here's the test. If this message is genuinely important, it'll be just as important the day after tomorrow. The information won't expire. The guidance won't become useless if you don't receive it before arbitrary deadline. So ask yourself, why does this content insist on tomorrow specifically? The answer is usually because urgency drives engagement, not because tomorrow actually matters. Can you recognize manufactured urgency when you see it? Develop that immunity if you haven't, because here's what's actually happening when content makes specific timing claims. They're throwing darts, making lots of predictions with specific time frames, knowing that some percentage will coincidentally align with events that were already likely to happen. And when coincidence occurs, when someone does experience something on predicted day, they become true believer. They share the content. They credit the prediction. They become evangelists for the creator's supposed accuracy. But what about all the predictions that didn't happen? All the people who watched content promising something tomorrow and then tomorrow came and went without anything notable occurring, those people are silent. They don't share. They don't evangelize. They just quietly recognize they were misled and hopefully become more skeptical. So the business model relies on hits, not accuracy rate, on the minority of coincidental alignments creating enough noise to drown out the majority of misses, and you're potentially being used in that model. Your engagement, whether the prediction manifests or not, that's what matters to the content creator. Are you participating in your own manipulation? Consider the larger system you're feeding, because I need to address what you might be hoping this is about. You're probably worried about something, or hoping for something, or waiting for something, and you clicked on this hoping to get clarity about whether that thing will happen tomorrow, and that hoping it's understandable. When you're in uncertainty, when you're anxious about outcome, when you're desperate for information that reduces your discomfort, you're vulnerable. You'll grasp at anything that promises to tell you what's coming, even when that promise is fundamentally impossible to deliver, because no one can see your tomorrow with precision. Too many variables. Too much depends on choices that haven't been made yet. Too much complexity in the system for anyone to predict specific outcomes on specific days for specific individuals. So what you're hoping for certainty about tomorrow, it's not available. Not from me. Not from any content creator. Not from any spiritual system or predictive modality. All that's available is probability based on current patterns. And even that's uncertain. Can you sit with not knowing what tomorrow brings? This is adult skill worth developing. Because here's what actually happens tomorrow. Most likely, it'll be ordinary, relatively similar to today. You'll wake up, navigate your usual responsibilities, have some interactions, make some choices, go to sleep. Maybe something slightly notable happens, small good thing or small challenging thing or minor surprise, but probably not life-changing, probably not the dramatic development that content promised. And if that's what unfolds, if tomorrow is just normal, how will you feel? Relieved that no catastrophe occurred? Disappointed that promised breakthrough didn't arrive? Angry that you were manipulated by false urgency? Or will you recognize that tomorrow being ordinary is actually fine? That life is mostly ordinary days with occasional significant moments? That you don't need every day to be transformative? What's your relationship to ordinary versus dramatic? Examine whether you're addicted to intensity, because I want to talk about what genuine guidance actually sounds like. Real guidance doesn't create panic, doesn't insist on specific timing, doesn't demand immediate action or attention. Real guidance says, here's pattern I'm seeing. Here's what that pattern suggests might be building. Here's what you might want to pay attention to or prepare for. And then it trusts you to use that information in whatever time frame serves you. It respects your intelligence. It doesn't treat you like you need to be scared into engagement. So when content uses fear tactics, when it insists on urgency, when it demands you pay attention right now because tomorrow something critical happens, that's not guidance, that's manipulation. And you can choose not to participate. You can close the content. You can ignore the deadline. You can live your life without needing to know what some content creator claims will happen tomorrow, and you'll be fine. Tomorrow will come. You'll handle whatever it brings, just like you've handled every other day. Are you strong enough to ignore urgent predictions? Test yourself by closing this and seeing what actually happens. Because here's what might actually be building, and this has nothing to do with tomorrow specifically. There could be momentum around something in your life. Situation approaching resolution, person approaching decision, opportunity approaching manifestation. But that momentum doesn't operate on calendar. It operates on its own timeline determined by factors you can't fully see or control. So it might surface tomorrow or next week or next month. Or it might not surface at all if conditions change in ways that prevent it. The point is, you can't control when. You can only control how you show up in the meantime. So instead of obsessing about what might happen tomorrow, instead of giving power to predictions about specific timing, focus on what you can control today, your choices, your energy, your preparation for whatever comes whenever it comes. That's useful focus. That creates actual empowerment. Everything else is just anxiety management through false certainty. Which are you choosing? Your nervous system knows the answer. Because I also need to prepare you for the possibility that something does happen. That tomorrow brings development that seems to align with the prediction that you experience something and think, see, they were right. And if that occurs, if coincidence creates apparent accuracy, don't let it override your critical thinking. Don't let one hit make you forget all the misses. Don't let confirmation bias turn you into uncritical consumer of this content going forward. Because even broken clocks are right twice a day. Even random predictions occasionally align with outcomes. That doesn't mean the prediction was genuinely seeing your future. It just means probability worked out in their favor this time. So maintain your skepticism, keep your discernment, use the information if it's useful, but don't surrender your critical faculties just because one prediction seemed accurate. Can you hold both? This was interesting and this doesn't prove they have special sight. That's mature relationship with predictive content. Because here's what you actually need to hear, and this has nothing to do with tomorrow. You're navigating uncertainty. That's just part of being human. You don't know what's coming. You can't control all outcomes. You're making choices with incomplete information and hoping they lead somewhere good. And that's uncomfortable. The not knowing is genuinely difficult. So you look for anything that promises to reduce the uncertainty, that claims to tell you what's coming, that offers certainty in domain where certainty doesn't exist, but that seeking it makes you vulnerable to manipulation, to content that exploits your discomfort, to promises that can't be kept. So the real work isn't finding better predictions, it's building capacity to tolerate uncertainty, to make choices without knowing outcomes, to trust yourself to handle whatever comes instead of needing to know in advance what that will be. That's freedom, not from uncertainty, that's impossible, but from needing to eliminate uncertainty in order to function. Are you building that capacity, or are you still seeking elimination of uncertainty? One is possible, the other isn't. Because ultimately, here's the truth. I don't know what'll happen tomorrow. Content creator doesn't know. No one knows. Tomorrow hasn't happened yet. And when it does happen, it'll unfold through complex interaction of everyone's choices and circumstances and randomness and all the factors that create what we experience as reality, not through predetermined script that spiritual content has access to, not through cosmic plan that's been revealed to select few, not through mystical sight that sees fixed future, just through normal causation operating as it always does. So you can stop looking for predictions about tomorrow, stop trying to know what's coming, stop giving power to content that claims to see what can't be seen, and you can start living in present, making best choices you can with information you have, building resilience to handle whatever comes, trusting yourself more than you trust predictions. That's the real work. That's what actually serves you. Everything else is just distraction from being present with what actually is. So close this. Go live your life. Let tomorrow arrive in its own time. And when it does, you'll handle it, just like you always have, without needing content to tell you what's coming, because you're capable, you're resilient, you're more powerful than you've been believing. And that truth, it's not coming tomorrow. It's already here, has been all along. You just needed to stop looking outside yourself long enough to notice. Tomorrow is just tomorrow. You'll wake up. You'll make choices. Life will continue. No prediction required, no urgency justified, just existence unfolding as it always does.